right, welcome back, everyone. This is James with The World's Last Night. Today we are in Exodus chapter 5, and you're going to see Moses and Aaron finally confront Pharaoh, and we get to hop into the action. So let's go ahead and start in verse 1. Later Moses and Aaron went in and said to Pharaoh, "This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. Let my people go, so that they may hold a festival for me in the wilderness." So that phrase is extremely, widespread. It's well known. Let my people go. It's a fantastic demand. And, certain revolutionaries and reformers throughout history have repeated Moses' words. Let my people go and within their own movements. And so it's really quite inspiring. And this is really brave of Moses and Aaron. If you think about their position, their station in life, being slaves, Moses, a disgraced former member of the Pharaoh's household. And in this culture, Pharaoh is actually deemed godlike, near a god, or even a god to be worshipped. And for him to go in and just make this demand, that takes a lot of moxie. So this is really good on Moses and Aaron for being that brave. But Pharaoh responded, "Who is the Lord, that I should obey him by letting Israel go? I do not know the Lord, and what's more, I will not let Israel go." So look at what Moses asked. He basically said, can we go into the wilderness to have a festival for a few days? I want to worship God there. And, actually, we're going to get that in a second. Let me read that first. Then they answered, "The God of the Hebrews has met with us. Please let us go on a 3-day trip into the wilderness so that we may sacrifice to the Lord our God, or else he may strike us with plague or sword." So this is a very small thing. Theologians like to point out that Moses hasn't really asked for his people to be freed from slavery at this point. He's really just asking for 3 days of rest, of taking off work to go on a holiday. The word holiday doesn't mean what it used to. It used to mean a holy day. And to go and worship their God. Well, theologians like to point out that basically God is using this to test Pharaoh's heart. He's asking for a very small thing. And as you see, Pharaoh is going to deny this. His heart is hardened. So he's going to basically say, "No, you got to stay here and be my slave labor." The king of Egypt said to them, "Moses and Aaron, why are you causing the people to neglect their work? Get to your labors." Pharaoh also said, "Look, the people of the land are so numerous, and you would stop them from working?" Verse 6. That day Pharaoh commanded the overseers of the people, as well as their foremen, "Don't continue to supply the people with straw for making bricks as before. They must go and gather straw for themselves. But require the same quota of bricks from them as they were making before. Do not reduce it, for they are slackers. That is why they are crying out, 'Let us go and sacrifice to our God.' Impose heavier work on the men. Then they will be occupied with it and not pay attention to deceptive words." Now my mind is straining because this kind of conduct in a ruler reminds me of a movie, and I can't quite put my thumb on it, of what movie it is, where basically a ruler or a boss, I guess I could say The Simpsons. The boss in The Simpsons, Monty Burns, is a lot like this, but basically when brought a reasonable request, like 3 days of off work, they suspect that is laziness, derived from laziness, which is very far from the truth. And so you see Pharaoh's increasing their burden by not providing Israel with straw. So apparently up to this point they had a vendor. The Egyptians would provide straw to them. Now the straw, as we know from archaeology, is used in some of the bricks that the Egyptians would make. And basically it made the bricks stronger. And actually I read that whenever the straw starts to degrade, its acidic content makes the bricks even stronger then. So some pretty nice science and, chemistry, to be more specific, going on. But it's kind of sort of beside the point, off topic. Israel now has to cut their own straw and still make the same amount of bricks. And as you can imagine, that's going to be really hard to deliver, to do basically 2 jobs instead of just the one. So the overseers and foremen of the people went out and said to them, "This is what Pharaoh says. I am not giving you straw. Go get straw yourselves wherever you can find it, but there will be no reduction at all in your workload." So the people scattered throughout the land of Egypt to gather stubble or stubble for straw. The overseers insisted, "Finish your assigned work each day, just as you did when straw was provided." Then the Israelite foremen, whom Pharaoh's slave drivers had set up over the people, were beaten and asked, "Why haven't you finished making your prescribed number of bricks yesterday or today as you did before?" So we know in concentration camps, the Nazis did the same thing where they would use certain Jews in the camps, put them as sort of leaders over the labor forces. I guess I should have said labor camp. But anyways, they would take people from the population of the Jews and make them taskmasters over their own people. And so even here with the Jews, I forgot we're talking about the same people group. The Hebrews, there are people who are foremen that Egypt has assigned to watch over their own brethren. And these people are all getting beaten because, well, they're not going to be able to finish their assigned work. So, okay. They're going to go and complain. So the Israelite foreman went in and cried for help to Pharaoh. "Why are you treating your servants this way? No straw has been given to your servants, yet they say to us, 'Make bricks.' Look, your servants are being beaten, but it is your own people who are at fault." It's sad that you think a megalomaniac like that is going to give in to reason. I guess it's not sad that you think that, it's just sad that they won't. This person has grown up, set in his ways from youth that what he says is true. Might makes right. In modern day, we think of Kim Jong-un of North Korea, who is a spoiled, violent dictator, right? And he is worshipped as a god, and his people fear him too. And you can't reason with someone like that. So, oh gosh, make bricks. Okay, it's your own people who are at fault. But he, talking about Pharaoh, said, "You are slackers." Slackers? That is why you are saying, "Let us go sacrifice to the Lord." Now get to work. No straw will be given to you, but you must produce the same quantity of bricks. The Israelite foremen saw that they were in trouble when they were told, "You cannot reduce your daily quota of bricks." When they left Pharaoh, they confronted Moses and Aaron, who stood waiting to meet them. "May the Lord take note of you and judge," they said to them, "because you have made us reek in front of Pharaoh and his officials, putting a sword in their hand to kill us." So at this point, sort of not in a good spot to be for Moses and Aaron. And the Israelites, when they say, "May the Lord take note of you and judge," they're now doubting Moses and Aaron, right? They're basically saying, God's going to be the judge of you, doubting that God sent them. Whereas just one chapter before this, they were worshiping God and jubilant over what Moses and Aaron had said and the signs that they performed. When things got tough and it didn't go as planned or as simply as planned, they gave in to their doubts. So Moses went back to the Lord and asked, "Lord, why have you caused trouble for this people? And why did you ever send me? Ever since I went into Pharaoh to speak in your name, he has caused trouble for this people, and you haven't delivered your people at all." Okay, so as believers coming to God and asking questions as to why we are suffering or why things aren't going to plan, that's fine. I think God wants that kind of conversation with his children. But Moses has already been given this answer. If we just flip back to when God was talking to him through the burning bush, he was told that Pharaoh is going to have a hard heart, and he's not going to let them go until God has performed many miracles. Remember, God explicitly told Moses this. So Moses should have been prepared and understand that there's going to be these roadblocks, that God has to do something, perform mighty works, in order to then have Pharaoh humbled to a point where he will let them go. As you and I may or may not know, if you've never read this story, that's going to be the plagues that God's going to send. But that's the end of chapter 5. So things aren't going too hot for our protagonists. But that doesn't mean that they won't turn up, because, well, they have God on their side, and God has a plan, and he's working it out. So this was a short chapter, just fine. I've been but my wife was reading John to me earlier in the Bible. It's in the New Testament, and those chapters are really long, and I'm trying to think about how we'll do this podcast when we get to chapters like that, or like Psalm 119, like super long chapters, if we're going to break them up or not. But I'm thankful for these short ones. So let's see. Next, we're going to be in chapter 6. I think things honestly even get worse for our protagonists until chapter 7, when God starts sending plagues. So until then, this is James from The World's Last Night.